Hello there, and welcome to the back room. Today I'm going to be reviewing more Mindustry schematics, specifically schematics for Metaglass. I'll be going through the schematics you can find from mindustryschematics.com. So if you want to reference them, you can find them there. And then I've got my criteria from the last video on graphite. So if you want to check that out, you can see I go over the criteria there. However, for this video, I'll just go ahead and jump right in, looking at the first one here. First one is the core metaglass. So core metaglass is an interesting one because you can attach the schematic to the core and get the resources from there, or you can just put the sand and the lead straight into these containers. The nice thing about this is that you've got these unloaders that will chain those resources down through all three of the containers, or the metaglass kilns on the left and on the right, as well as three down the middle. So you get a total of nine. So it's fairly efficient. There's a battery here on the corner, kind of indicating yes, we need power. And how this works is all of the resources flow down into the different kilns and then flow back up these bridges back into the core. So now, if you don't attach this to the core, you would then need to have an unloader from these storage containers back into the core. So ideally, you would put this on the core. This one I really like. If you need a lot of metaglass, this is a great way to get a lot of it. So I would say it does what it's supposed to really well. We're not really wasting resources. There's not extra conveyor belts just sitting around. It looks like there is some sort of programming. I'm not quite sure what the programming will do on this. It's possible that that's just a message telling you what it says, or what you it's telling you what you need to do with this. Granted, I haven't played with this one, but just looking at this one, I think this is definitely an S. I think this is really good. It's really efficient if you want that much metaglass. Usually, I don't really need that much metaglass. I can get by with less than that, but I'd say that's still an S for what it does.
Any happier and I would explode.
All right, moving on to the next one here. We have the early metaglass. This one is great if you have your sand and your lead right next to each other. Um, it then feeds up the conveyor belt to the middle, up the middle to two kilns, and then out where it needs to go. I think the problem with this one is that you have to put the schematic directly on glass or sorry, not glass, on sand and on the lead. However, I find that hard to do. If you're in a multiplayer game, this might be helpful where you have specifically curated maps, but on the single player, I don't think this is terribly helpful. It might work initially, so I'll go ahead and give it a C. It's not failing, but it's definitely not something I would use regularly. It's very long, and I would like other drills. You have to upgrade the drills almost immediately on this. Okay. All right, moving on. The next one here is Metaglass 2x2. So this one is one I created. You might recognize the pattern. This is very similar to my graphite one. However, it does metaglass. Benefit of this one is that you can feed sand or sand and lead in any direction, minus where the glass comes out the bottom. And these unloaders will pass the materials between each other and pass out the results down the bottom. I like this design. It's very compact. It's a 5x5 item or 5x5 schematic. You can place these really close to each other and build a lot of them. It doesn't take up a lot of room. And because they're all standard size, if you do have extra room, you can just put them in a grid, and it's super easy to use. I'm gonna go ahead and give this one a superior because I like this one. I'm a little biased on this, sorry, but I really like this design. It's really good.
Collecting samples of bias.
Let's go to the next one here. Okay, so this one looks very familiar. I couldn't find this specific one on the website. I did not create this one. This specific schematic I put together just so I could present this way. However, this design is, fairly old. People have seen this one a lot. Essentially, you put the sand in the top, lead in the bottom, and you can take everything from these sorters to the right and repeat them two more times, and you get three mostly scalable metaglass. I think this is a great design. Whoever came up with it, kudos to you. I'm going to give this one, I don't know, probably an A because it's very simple to use. You can put three kilns right next to each other. Works pretty good. Um, Again, you start running out. If you put more than three together, you start to run out of resources. One cool thing about this is you can actually copy just the kiln with these conveyor belts and put it on top if you want to run stuff out the top and out the bottom. And these overflow gates will send them up or down, which is kind of cool. So it's good. I think that's definitely an A tier.
You put the 4 in C4 out of 5.
Moving on to the next one. So this was one that I thought was kind of interesting because it didn't take your traditional inputs. It expects you to pass in scrap. Okay. So on levels where you don't have sand, you just pass in scrap on the left here and into this sand generator. I think it's a crusher or something like that. I forget what it's called. And then it pops out copper, graphite, lead, and titanium. Well, those obviously are not all ingredients for making metaglass, and so this uh, garbage dispenser will just take those extra resources and burn them, and only lead gets sent in, and sand comes in from the top. Now, you can then have the glass come out the bottom or out the right, and so it works. It's not terribly efficient because you are wasting these resources. I would instead have this, instead of being a disintegrator, have it come out the bottom and go off to your core. So that way you're not just wasting the resources. But this does uh, get you what you need to do. I'm going to go ahead and give it a C. It does what it needs to. It's not one that it's not terribly optimized. You can't really scale this very well. And I guess you could copy this down, but then the sand would have a hard time coming in. You'd need some sort of unloader to be able to pass the sand down if you wanted to scale this. So it's not really scalable. Probably give it a C. It will work for what you need it to do. Okay. Moving on, we have Metaglass times 5, X5. This one has sand and lead coming in the bottom. It has unloaders in the middle. This is nice because it only uses 2 unloaders, which is a little bit better than my design. You don't have to worry about uh, that much extra silicon. So it's half the silicon, and you get an extra metaglass in there. I think this one is a great one. Probably my only criticism is that it's not a standard design like the one I have, but works great. For if you want the extra size, you need 5 of these metaglass. That's great. I don't think 5 is the perfect number for this because you are going to run into not having enough resources coming in on your conveyor belts. I think you can. The way this works is you can actually have the resources come in from any direction. So you'd probably want to have maybe 2 conveyor belts coming in, but at that point you're kind of overdoing it. So I don't think you really need 5 Metaglass in this case, but I'll go ahead and still give it an S tier. I might come back to that one because I might mock that. I might knock that down to an A just because it has 5 instead of 4. But I don't know. We'll have to come. We'll think about that one. All right. So this next one is a Metaglass 18 full plastanium conveyors is what it's called. This is for those that those people that want to just have lots of metaglass, probably from one location, and you can ship it off of that location. Because I don't think I've ever needed this much metaglass. So here we have the lead coming in the top and the sand coming in the bottom. They get unloaded and fed from kiln to kiln until everything has what it needs, and then it feeds out the resources out the top. They have a disintegrator up at the top right here for now, but that would go to your core or whatever, and you could change the direction of this conveyor belt here as you need to. I think it works. I think it's overkill. I think it's more resources than you need to spend on this, more space than you need to spend on this. So I'll give it a B. I don't think I would ever need this much of this metaglass, so we're gonna give it a B. All right. Next one. This is Metaglass, just straight up Metaglass. This is one that's very similar to the Metaglass chain that I'd put it here in the A tier. The problem with this one is you have there are 4 kilns in a row, and these slow conveyor belts, um, I don't think are going to be able to feed these 4 kilns significantly fast enough. Again, there's more kilns than you actually need, and it's going to output the top. This is one I would never use, except for I would use one of these little slivers maybe on the first level, but I just don't think I would use this very much. So I'm going to have to give this one an F just because there's a lot of extra conveyor belts up here that aren't very useful. It's too big for the speed of the conveyor belts. So, sorry, first F tier there.
This would look great in pieces. I volunteer.
Moving on, we have Plague CE3 gas. I think that's part of somebody's tagging for there. They're schematics, but I'm not quite sure who that is, but that's the name there. This one pulls out of the core. So like I mentioned, if somebody wants to have one location on the campaign where you just pull out all of the resources to create Metaglass and then you ship it off world, this is a great way to do this. There's no way to put resources back into this. Like say you want to put sand and other things into this. Um, it's really confusing. Just looking at it, I can see that there's unloaders here. There's 6 unloaders that feed in the various directions, and it looks like it pushes it back into it. So it's pulling out resources to then push back in and create the metaglass. Now, I'm not sure how useful that is because you can't get it off world very easily. So, and you can't put other resources into here. So you're just making a lot of metaglass for what purpose? I don't think this really helps much. So I'm probably going to have to give that one an F tier. I would never use that one. Um, yeah, it's kind of a mess to look at. And if one of these bridges get, disconnected or something, you just don't notice it, that's just going to cause you problems. Yeah, I've never used that one. All right, so let's go back to this Metaglass times 5. I think we'll go ahead and just leave it there. I think that it's good enough, and you can play with that. And I probably won't use it, but someone else might find that one interesting. So we'll leave that one there. All right, that's all I have for this video. Just I think there's the 9 here, and we'll let me know which of these do you like the best. Which of these would you use? Are there any that you wouldn't use, or do you disagree with any of my rankings here? Let me know. Thank you much. We'll catch you later.